All right, hello and welcome back to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and I am really excited that the weather is finally cooling off. Tomorrow is October 1st, and I'm excited that we finally have some fall weather coming our way. Now, I live in Arizona, so for those that are living in the desert, must know that it is really tough to get under triple digits here. And we're finally starting to get there in the late evenings, but during the day, we're still at like 105, 104. So I'm looking forward to the weather cooling down because I usually have my boots out by now. That still hasn't happened. I still haven't had the opportunity to put on sweaters or boots, but I did have the opportunity to go to boot camp on Monday. And unfortunately, I did something very interesting to my foot. I'm not really sure what happened, but I heard a couple of pops when I went down to the ground. So we are pushing through, hobbling through life right now. And that's okay, as long as we're just pushing forward all the time. But it's been very nice to receive so many of your well wishes. So thank you so much for that. I am healing, and crutches have been my best friend. So I lived on them for 3 months when I broke my knee and tore my ACL. So it's something that happens often in my house with how active I am. Either that or I'm just clumsy, who knows. But I'm really excited for our podcast that we have today because we are welcoming Landstrom, who's an award-winning master photographer. And we also have Sophia Olivas with us today. And she's an international speaker, best-selling author, philanthropist, and socially conscious entrepreneur. I love it, Sophia. And I'm so happy that you're here with us. Ladies, we have a couple of events that are coming up that I wanted to remind you of so that you don't forget. We have an event tomorrow, our October Lunch and Learn, where we're going to be talking about how you can really take advantage and be successful with virtual networking. That's our Lunch and Learn for tomorrow. That's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you haven't already gotten your tickets for that, I will put the link right at your fingertips so that you can go ahead and grab that if you are on Facebook today. And then if you are listening on the podcast, you have the opportunity to show up to our November opportunity of our networking event. This is for you to expand your influence and your circle of influence. And I always recommend that we take the opportunities when we can to be educated and motivated and inspired throughout the week. And you can bring your lunch and sit in front of your computer. So you don't even have to get in your car and drive anywhere. So no excuses there for anyone that's looking to meet some additional women. We also have 2 of our Teaching Tuesday webinars coming up, which are super great opportunity. They are free and they are for you to learn from our members. Twice a month, we bring our members forward. Kat Lakohe on October 13th is going to be teaching about burlesque extraordinaire. I love it because she helps us tap into who we are on the inside, bring our personality out to the outside, and it's just going to be a fun time. So ladies, use it as a break and also a way to kind of tap into yourself for a little self-care. October 27th, Stacy Golden is going to be working with us on being prepared for the unexpected. That means organizing your documents. I love how all the women in Lead Up for Women have such different talents and geniuses that they bring to the table. We all need to ensure that, especially in these times, that our paperwork is together, our states are together, our wills are together. So Stacy's going to be walking us through the importance of that and making sure we have the right documents. And then, of course, Kat's going to be helping us have some fun when it comes to burlesque. So 2 fun ones in October. So make sure you go check those out. And of course, we have our sanctuary coming up in November, and we're really excited about that. Again, all of it's on our events page, so we hope to see you at one of our events very soon. All right, ladies, let's get to why you are here today, and that is to meet who our guests are. And our first guest is Anne. Now, she's an award-winning master photographer, like I said, with over 20 years in the photography industry. She's awesome. That's the word that comes to my mind. If you can see her on the screen, she's absolutely beautiful. She's awesome. She has taken some most beautiful photos of a lot of the stars that you see behind her. Les Brown. She's also been featured in San Diego Magazine and numerous podcasts in the Huffington Post. Now she specializes in branding, boudoir, and fine art prints. So Anne, welcome to the podcast and the show.
Thank you, Colleen. I am so excited to be here. Thank you.
It's an amazing success story that you've had and where you've been able to take your business. And I know women, when they meet someone like you, Anne, they're like, wow, I'm so impressed. How did she do it? So we all know we don't wake up one day and are like, I think I'm just going to be an award-winning photographer. And that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. There's a story behind this journey. And I would love to learn a little bit about your story of how you became the Anne Landstrom that you are today.
Well, I can start off with, I say to my clients, I've been doing this since I was 5. I used to go in my mother's closet and put on her bras, put my dad's socks in there, put on my mom's stilettos and strut around, and necklaces, the whole thing. So exactly what my clients do in my studio now, I've been doing since I was 5 years old. And my photography career started, I'm originally from Sweden, and my father told me, Anne, you're sending home such great pictures. This is snail mail and regular, before digital, when we printed actually our pictures. Why don't you go and take a photography class? And that was 25 years ago. I fell in love with it. I haven't looked back. And throughout this whole time, 10 years ago or 9 years ago, I ended up in a very bad divorce. My 6-year-old youngest son and I actually ended up homeless. And for 6 months, I was down and out, suicidal. I had no hope or saw any bright light. And eventually picked myself up and say, you know, nobody's coming to rescue me here. I have to rescue myself. And I landed a job as a boudoir photographer. And I thought to myself, who the heck needs pictures in their lingerie? I mean, why? Why do you need those? And little did I know that that was going to change my life purpose, and how it affected women when we tap into our feminine essence. It's just been life-changing for me. So that's the short version.
I love the short version, and the short version was very powerful. I want to go back and anchor in something you just mentioned about I found myself homeless and I needed to rescue myself because nobody's coming. This is a very popular subject that we talk about. And how did you realize, at what point, I mean, it had to have gotten so bad that you waited and then realized, okay, I have to do something because no one's coming. What is that moment like? And where do you have to get to in that moment for it to be so bad that you think, what was I waiting for this whole time? Who was I waiting for? And why did I think someone was actually coming?
I think we all are thinking that somebody's going to come and take our hand and drag us out of whatever we're doing. When we're done, whatever it's happened to you in your life, when we're in that dark spot, we can't think clear. We don't see the light on the other side. And you look at other people and just compare yourself, which is a big mistake. You should just look at you, take one day at a time, and baby step, pull yourself out. For me, it was, I joke now, but I was like the best dressed homeless person around. Nobody knew. I had my stuff in storage. I had suitcases in the back of my SUV. Didn't know sometimes where I was going to sleep the next night. Slept in my car a few times. And there was one day when I went and picked up my son at school, like everybody else, all the other moms. And my son comes in and says, and at this point, I've had suicidal thoughts. I'm like, this is not my life. And he went like this on my shoulder and said, Mom, let's go home. And then he goes, oh, that's right, we don't have a home. And that was my turning point. That was when, okay, you know what? This homeless alley cat is going to become a roaring lion because this is not my life. And that day is when I took action. And little by little, I started to listen to law of attraction tapes, personal development, just fed myself from I woke up in the morning until I went to bed at night, all the positive self-development. And especially Lisa Nichols, she was my go-to. She had been a single mom. She had been through some stuff in her life. And lucky enough, law of attraction, full circle, I attracted her into my studio 8 years later and got to photograph her. And she more or
Wow.
less saved my life with all the information that I read in her books and followed her with.
Yeah. That's an incredible story. I have a similar one with a daughter of mine that did the same thing with me. And I just believe that they become, our angels in that moment. We need to hear it from somebody else sometimes, and it's like a jolt, right? That was your jolt of, okay, time to like get back into reality of what's going to happen here in the future. And if I don't do something about this, what's going to happen with our lives?
Yeah.
And then to see where your life was, you had a great life, to going homeless to where your life is today. That just really sets the precedence for everyone to understand that it really is based on our mindset and the belief that we have in ourselves and what our abilities are. So talk a little bit more about, you go through your personal development journey and you manifested her into your studio 8 years later. What have been some of your successes that, because of your determination and your mindset, have really even shocked you?
I believe in investing in yourself with mentors and coaches. Somebody once told me, you want to be the dumbest and brokest person in the room because you want to learn from everybody else. You don't want to be the smartest and the richest one in the room. And invest always 30% of your income back into yourself and your business. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been seeking out mentors and coaches that can get me to the next level in my photography business, in my personal development mindset, and also in financial. So you need a coach in all different aspects of your life, be able to get you and push you out of your comfort zone and get you to the next level. Because we don't know what we don't know until somebody tells us what to do and how to get there.
Bingo. And when you are owning your own business, I look at it like this. You're in a photo, in a frame, on a wall in a house. You can't see the house. You can only see what's in front of you. The coach tells you the layout of the house. They help you understand the layout of the house. And so, I've coached women and men in business for over almost 20 years now. And I have a coach, and my coach has a coach, and that coach has a coach. And I can't express my passion enough for what you just talked about, Anne, and how that has brought you being the dumbest one in the room. Key lesson here. If you are the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong crowd. You want to be, I agree with you. You want to surround yourself with people that are going to fuel you, that are going to help, bring you to the next level. And also investing back into your business, the 30%. I always say 10% we need to save, 30% we need to invest back in, and then you need to have a percent that you have of profit that you get to celebrate with and utilize as a congratulations, for yourself, for your excellence in what you're doing. I think as women, we tend to reach a pinnacle of something and then, great, we got there. What's the next goal? We never stop to really relish in, our celebration of what we've been able to accomplish. And I believe that is also, for psychology purposes, very important in self-care to celebrate. And I'm not saying you have to, take a week and go to Bora Bora and get a massage every day for self-care. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you could go out to dinner and celebrate with a spouse or a friend, or go get a facial, or whatever it is that you want to do to celebrate. Go buy that pair of shoes you've been wanting because that's what you wanted to get yourself, or a book, or, a staycation, or whatever it is that you're looking for. Take the day off and not work, right? That in itself is a vacation. But I love your points today, Anne. Like you've hit a home run with some power hitters on keys for us in running our business and getting over your past. That's the other thing. You can't let it define you.
No.
Our past is what created who we are today, and it's not what should hold us back and keep us victims to things that have happened in the past, to say, well, I became homeless and so then now I'm homeless. Well, change tomorrow. change
Yeah.
the next day, change the next day, and then look where you could end up.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure sitting in the car that day in your SUV, you never imagined being where you are today.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some, I believe one other mentor said, don't worry so much about the how, and just look at what your end goal is, and don't put so much into how to get there. Put that on the worry shelf for you, the universe, because it will happen if you put your mindset to it and you walk towards it. It will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the how. Just
No.
do. Yep.
Yeah. Just do.
Keep moving forward.
Like the Nike commercial.
Another good point. Just do it.
Yes.
And you're awesome. Now, I know you have a free gift to offer all of our listeners today. And of course, I want to, we have all of your contact information at the tip of their fingertips right there for them to click on to reach out to you. But let's talk about how they can reach out to you, what you have to offer, and why someone would want to reach out to you, right? I like to talk about the why. Why would someone want to reach out to you? What do you offer them?
Well, I offer a few things. I'm a boudoir photographer and a branding photographer. So some women like to go from the boardroom to the bedroom and do both in one day and come in and have a whole full session. But branding today is also very important for your, as a business owner. In this market, you have really 3 seconds to stand out from your competition when somebody comes to your website. And these days we don't meet in person. So it's all about what do you show up like, and is there images speaking for you to attract the right client. So I have a gift today. It's a branding guide that I have put together, and it talks about how to brand yourself and where to put your marketing and branding, and you can download that PDF. You can get a hold of me at annphotography.com. That's ANN. And I'm in San Diego. My phone number is 760-610-6263.
Awesome, Ann. Thank you so much for that free gift. And I recommend that everyone go and get that PDF. It's so important. And, you know, we always remember the ones that stand out, but yet so many of us are trying to fit in all the time, you know, and society and culture really enforces the fitting in. You know, this is the trends. These are the clothes people are wearing. Here's how you wear your hair. Here's the hot spots to go to. And yet there's always those individuals that just don't follow what the current trends are. And those are the ones we notice. So how can you stand out? I love that you said that, from your competition and from other people around you. How can you be you? It's about being you. It really is about.
It really is. And if I can say one more thing about the boudoir photography, because we women are the worst self-critics when we look in the mirror. We are really abusive to ourselves. Yeah. I would never say to you, Colleen, oh, you look ugly or fat or old, like I tell myself. Right. So with the boudoir photography, you really have to take all the masks off, all the social, whatever you tell yourself, and really accept who you are, that image that comes out of the camera in your buff, and love that now, and not 25 pounds or 25 years ago. So that's another, it's just an empowering way of being photographed as well.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much. You're brilliant. Thank you. You shared so many nuggets with us today in such a short amount of time. I'm blown away. So thank you so much for
having me,
coming here today and sharing all of this with us. It's been amazing. All right, we're going to be talking to Sophia Olivas now. I've got to get that down. I always want to say Olivia because it's Sophia, but it's Sophia Olivas. And like I said, she's an international speaker, best-selling author. I can't wait to find out all about her books. And before the age of 25, Sophia was a real estate investor, owned a tech company, and raised $30 million in 28 days for a corporate entertainment company she founded, and had launched an online banking project for the top 5 financial institution. I mean, just a couple of accomplishments, really. Come on, Sophia. That is amazing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And whoa, and what you just amazing woman. And I love just being up here and highlighting women and talking about purpose and feeling it with your why. Like I'm just really grounded in who you are, Anne. So thank you so much for being so generous in your sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And talk about mastering her creative genius. You know, that is her genius. It started at the age of 5 with her interest in the heels and then the photography and not giving up on herself and her child not giving up on her. It's just a beautiful story. So, Sophia, you too have a story, because before the age of 25, what are most people doing before the age of 25? College, mostly living at home, it seems like these days. Maybe some video games are included in there, hanging out with their girlfriends, maybe getting married. I'm not really sure. You were building, you know, $30 million companies. So let's talk about how you go from being a teenager to having the idea to do what you did. Where does that come from?
Well, necessity comes from necessity. I grew up in a home that was very abusive, and I watched my mother have to deal with that on a daily basis, and myself and my sibling. And there was just a point when I turned 14 and I was like, you know, I really disagree with how my father's raising us, and I think I can do better. And I left and did way better. I chose the streets over the comforts of a middle-class home that was providing for all of my physical needs. And yeah, and I can completely relate. I'm sure there's other listeners that can completely relate to, you know, where you make those choices where, okay, well, I could stay in this marriage, I could stay in this relationship, I could stay whatever in this setting, and have my physical needs taken care of, or you know what, I'm going to believe in myself and strike on my own, and I'd prefer sleeping in my car than the comforts of that, whatever that presents. And so that's what I did, and I sought mentors. I knew that education was my ticket out of whatever situation I was in. And I knew that there were a lot of people that had already succeeded in life, and all I did was sought counsel for them. And luckily for me, they saw something in me and they believed in me and they worked with me. I lived in the libraries. I'm still at that 2-year-old stage of why this, why do you do that? Why, you know, and I remain curious. And I think that that's something, a healthy perspective, and it keeps you young, and it has you stay engaged. Even from when you stay curious, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, because you'll learn from everybody. And I think that perspective has allowed me to be in any setting and be able to leverage from the knowledge of those that are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I quite often say, if learning is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. And it is so true. Like we're sponges, you know, we're meant to learn, and we don't even use the capacity of a very small capacity of our brains as it is in our minds. And we have the opportunity to tap into so much more. And I wrote down, never give up, you know, remain curious. So how have you remained curious since you were 25? Sophia?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a tendency to look back and be like, wow, I was on fire back then. And like, and then you start to measure and compare yourself against your former self, or even against others, right? There's always that syndrome. And for me, it's my intent, my whole, like what has me wake up in the morning is living a life of purpose on purpose. Mm-hmm. And my whole motto is to leave everything and everyone better than I found them. And that takes a lot of intentionality, and that takes you looking for, okay, there's a situation that I may not be in agreement with. So how can I leave this situation better than when I found it? Mm-hmm. And that keeps me engaged, and it keeps me present. And it also keeps me open to the possibilities that may otherwise be closed off, especially like if you're in a challenging situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to us about the book that you wrote. Why did you write the book? What was the inspiration for that? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so the first book is When I Rise, I Thrive. That book there was a brand new publishing company that was just starting up, and they had a bunch of authors that we were talking, and we got together, and the publisher was like, hey, why don't we pull all you guys together? And because we all had similar stories of rising. I mean, mm-hmm. Anne's got one that's similar, and about how our fires fuel us. You don't need to get past your fires. You don't need to forget about them or get over them. Heck no, they're your fire, and you use them, and that's what gets you to thrive. Your fires are what give you your uniqueness and your individuality, and they give you your purpose. If you will embrace the suck, right? Brene Brown, she talks about embracing the suck. If you will embrace it, it's the gift that can give you purpose. And that's what that book is about. It's got a bunch of authors talking about how our rising and our thriving, you know, there's certain levels. There's, you know, a victim. Something happens to you, you're a victim of it. And then there's a survivor. And the stage that we would love to see people, and you can move to and you can get to, is thriving. And that's what we talk about in that book.
We all have the ability to survive. We're built to survive, you know, as humans, literally gatherers, nurturers, we're built to survive. So surviving is here, right? So how do you get from survival mode to thriving? What are a few tips that you can give our listeners today on what they can take and apply to their lives right now and day to day to start moving in the direction, if they certainly are listening right now and are thinking to themselves, I'm surviving, I'm not thriving. How do I get to thriving?
Right. So a couple things. I can't even tell you which one's more important right at the moment because they're neck and neck. One is your beliefs and the other is leveraging your network. So making sure that your network, and Anne spoke about it, you spoke about it, seek out mentors. There are people that have, there is every situation that's come about, there's been somebody that's already experienced something similar to that and has gotten through that. Find them, go to them, seek counsel from them. And you don't even have to find somebody that's exactly gone through your specific situation, just someone that's the level that you want to get to. Because you may not be able to do what they've done and duplicate that. What you can do though, is you can find out who they had to become, who they had to be in order to achieve that success.
I love this surrounding yourself and talking about the network. So believing in yourself, and that's kind of a daily work of believing in yourself. The more you surround yourself with people that believe in you, it helps you keep that fuel lit. Surrounding yourself with people that believe in you. So that's what, you know, that one of the reasons why I built Lead Up for Women in this organization was for that purpose. So women never felt alone, because entrepreneurship is very lonely. So women always had a tribe that they could depend on, that they could reach out to, that they could connect with, that were like-minded, women that wanted to lift each other, that wanted to help each other, that have already been through exactly what Sophia talked about. They've already been through that hurdle or over that hurdle. They can help you get over it quicker and give you advice, right? Surround yourself with people that are there to have the same beliefs as you and are looking to assist you in growing, as well as their own growth, right? That are motivated. Motivation is a huge factor. If there's no motivation involved, you know, our minds give out long before our bodies. And so that's why I struggle with my body when it breaks like this, because I know that my mind wasn't giving up on the workout and I could have gone much longer, but my body gave up. And it's generally the other way around, right? Our minds give up, and that's why we say mind over matter. You know, if you're running a marathon, you will talk yourself out of finishing before your body will say, I cannot finish. And so that's something to really take out of this and remember is, what is it that you believe in? What is it that you're fighting for? Why is it that you want to thrive? What is the why behind the thriving, right?
That is, and she, you know, Anne spoke about that, and you even spoke about that with your daughter, your kids, that being an inflection point. Your why is what's going to get you over, through, under, and around any obstacle. So make sure that that is solid, that when you speak about your why behind something, it brings you and others to tears. Like it has you invested, and it has others inspired. Because if not, then when you come to a stumbling block, you are going to have a challenge. Otherwise, everything else is like, you know, plot twist. That's a plot twist. That's what we're going to do now, you know?
Yeah.
Your beliefs, that's the one thing you have control over. Mastery of your beliefs is probably one of the biggest things you can do in any setting or environment. It's free. It's, you know, it doesn't take anything outside of you externally. It's your internal work that is super important, because if you can see it within yourself, you can achieve it. So you've got to believe that you can have that. And Anne's absolutely right. The hows, you leave that to whoever you believe in, you know, higher power, somebody that's got more of a higher view of the whole chessboard, right? You just focus on taking that one step every day forward, and then just trust that your path will show you the next step.
And it does. I've had crazy miracles happen in my life since I took the leap from corporate America with the unknown, and building this corporation. And I'm so happy that I did. And it's taken care of. Your plan is taken care of. We just have to answer the call to step up and be the leaders and of our lives. Let's just start with being the leaders of our lives and showing up and leading without permission and not waiting for someone else to come and rescue us, because it's not going to happen. We need to rescue ourselves. And talking about your beliefs and thriving, write down what is thriving for you. Start with that. Just write it on paper. What does thriving look like for you in your life? And at least let's get it out there so the universe understands what it is that you're wanting and what you need. So Sophia, talk to us about why someone would want to reach out to you, how they reach out to you, and what your offer is for our listeners today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am absolutely passionate about women's financial sovereignty. I firmly believe that women, independent of their relationships, their family, their social upbringing, that they can remain solvent in their life. And that when women are taken care of financially, it's been proven that they go further in their education. They have kids later in life. They have fewer kids. They choose better domestic partners, and they take better care of their mental and physical health. So if you just look at everything I just said, you pretty much have solved all of the world's challenges, just taking care and focusing on women. So I am incredibly passionate about and really great at showing women and people of all, any gender, right, of how to pivot. Like, I'm a master at that. I'm really, so that's something that if you want to talk to me about that and like where you're at and how do you pivot in COVID? Like, did you have a company that had to shut down or that you had to pull back on? Are you an employee whose company was affected by that? And now you're looking at, what do I do next? How do you go from the physical world to the electronic world? Like, how do you navigate that? That's something that I'm an expert in. And I wanted to offer your listeners a free pivot to cash blueprint. So I'll make sure that that's put available to them. It's a PDF that kind of gives you just a really simple blueprint that if you follow those steps, wherever you're at, whether you're an employee or a business owner, that you can just take those steps and put them into action for wherever you're at and implement them and do a profound pivot. I truly believe, I am so honored to be witnessing and alive during this time and just witnessing humanity come back to its heart. And all of this quiet time where people have been able to activate and tap into all their creativity. You just wait and see this next year where all these people, where it's a renaissance that we're about to witness, a technological renaissance where all these people that had that book in them, that had that movie in them, that had that invention in them or that business in them. And they were always making some type of justification where I'm too busy, I'm working, I work too many hours, my family. But well, now they've been able to sit there and focus on that. And I am super excited for the future. I'm so hopeful. I'm so proud to be part of this human race and on this beautiful planet and how we are pulling through. And all I can see is how leadership is being called to be right now, and people are stepping up to the plate. So another way to reach me, phone number is 480-382-9237. I'll also put in that PDF, there's also a way to reach me directly and book a really quick 15-minute coffee chat and just let me know where you're at, what you're up against, and what you need next, and see how we can move you to that next step.
Thank you, Sophia. There's been some amazing offers today, ladies, for all of you and gentlemen. I wanted to comment that my nephew, Connor Schneff, listens to, he's in his 20s, and he told me when I saw him last weekend, I listen to your podcast every week in my car and everything. I was so impressed that my nephew was listening to my podcast. Honestly, he's a boy. He's a man, I guess. But I was impressed that he was listening to my podcast. So shout out to Connor for listening to my podcast. Thank you so much. So we never know who's listening. And that's the thing, right? We never know. I always say there are people that need you. And until you step up and become authentically who you are not able to give those people around you permission to do the same. And we are raising our next generation and our generation after that. I mean, I'm on grandkids and then probably great grandkids coming soon. So I've already raised a generation, and now that generation is raising the next generation. And unless we are willing to step up and be ourselves authentically and thrive and go after what it is that we want, those people out there that are needing us and waiting for us to be able to utilize and make our mark on the world for what it is that we possess as our creative genius, we leave them without. So we are not doing a service to anyone until we step up and move forward and thrive. So thank you both ladies. This was a magical experience for me. I think it was for our listeners. There was so much information that came out of here very quickly of how every single one of us can take steps in our lives to thrive and really become the master of our creative genius. And that's what we're talking about today. So ladies, thank you for being with me. And just one last note before we leave. Remember, everyone listening, that you are the only you that has ever been, and you are the only you that will ever be. So how you master your journey and how you take your journey and pioneer your future is up to you. So be you and be strong. All right, ladies, thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Have an awesome week. Goodbye.